History Inside a Nutshell, the show where we sail into our port of call discussing maritime history.
It's that time of year again, and yes, we are going to be diving into another spooky story. Following the success of last year's Halloween video, I've decided to create another one, but into the modern times. This has been requested, though I wasn't really too sure about doing this at first. But now that I've done this video, I think, okay, I can deal with that. And yes, you've got me back again narrating. Here we go, it says back again. And I haven't narrated in a little bit of a while, but I'm hoping to dive into more narration at some point. But anyway, I'm going to be leaving you with the story of the most haunted stateroom on board a modern cruise liner. B340, the tale of Queen Mary's haunted stateroom. As a popular tourist attraction and hotel in Long Beach, California, the RMS Queen Mary is known for its iconic history and its beauty, particularly its interior decorations. But the ship is also known for its haunted rooms. Because of its paranormal activity, the Cunard liner has drawn in more tourists, whether they would be day visits or overnight stays. One well-known place inside the belly of the ship, which is considered the most haunted stateroom, B340 or B340, and with an additional however to include in this sentence, we have to ask ourselves this question: how haunted is the B340 stateroom? In this video, in the run-up to Halloween, we'll dive into the history of the stateroom and its debatable paranormal activity. To understand its roots, we must look into the location of B340 and who would stay in the room. B340 is located on the B deck of the ship, and while sailing on the open ocean, the stateroom would be occupied for third-class passengers or tourist-class passengers upon its name change in the 1930s. On the deck of the RMS Queen Mary, the passengers would have access to a third-class children's playroom, a cinema, and a public library. However, third-class passengers would have to share the deck with first-class and second-class passengers, as the deck was also a location for barbershops, beauty parlours, more staterooms, a group of isolation wards, and a synagogue. Sailing on board the RMS Queen Mary's voyages must have been luxurious for its time, but its haunted tales would either haunt or interest those on board the ship. Since resting in her permanent home, staff, tourists and guests would have reported hearing knocks on the stateroom door, seeing bathroom lights mysteriously turn on, and bathroom water mysteriously running in the middle of the night. The most bone-chilling and famous event of B340's stateroom was the story of a murder case, which took place in the 1960s during the Queen Mary's final transatlantic voyages before her retirement. The story goes was when an unnamed man was accused of felony murder after brutally murdered two women, possibly either in the corridors, near, or inside the stateroom. Following the murder, the man was locked in his own stateroom, located in either B222, B224, or B226. While locked in his room, he would pound on the door, crying that there was someone inside who was trying to kill him. He was ignored by a guard who stood outside the stateroom, and after a while, the man stopped knocking on the door. Thinking the man was asleep, the guard thought nothing about it. Until the next day, when the ship docked in New York City. After the ship docked at the Cunard Pier, the New York Police Department detectives discovered a human, who had been ripped apart with his entrails and limbs spread all over the room. The victim was the same man who killed the two women. Upon its next sailing, passengers and crew members began to report paranormal activity inside the B-deck staterooms. These reports continued when the Queen Mary moved to a permanent home. When the activity drove away the guests from the ship, it was decided that B340 would be closed to guests. Despite its activity, no one knows who murdered the man and his connections to the two women before his murder. However, this story could have been invented by the ship's owners at the time, the Walt Disney Company, to draw in guests and tourists. Whatever the case is, it's likely we might never know the truth behind this story. What is true is that the stateroom is haunted, and because of its interest in paranormal activity, B340 was reopened to guests in the 1980s and has been visited ever since. But if guests wanted to know the spooky details of the stateroom and what to expect before and while staying there, the room has been advertised as a paranormic stateroom. As well as its inclusion of modern amenities and classic elegance, the stateroom includes a crystal ball, an emoji board, tarot cards, ghost hunting equipment, electric candles, pictures of ghosts, and an extra activity inside the bathroom where guests can see directions on the wall. The directions to summon Queen Mary I of England, aka Bloody Mary. Would you ever visit or stay inside the Queen Mary? Share your thoughts in the comments. If you have stayed or visited already, share your spooky tales in the comments. The scarier, the better.
If you enjoyed this episode, please like and subscribe for future videos. Until next time, this has been History Inside a Nutshell, departing from the dogs. Thank you so much for all of your support and enjoy the rest of your voyage.